Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
What do you get when you mix two white boys, both named Mike? A thing for Justin Timberlake and a piercing above your eye. Was he high? Their stories alone could make you cry. That's when you want to make your Irish goodbye.
Hey, oh, what do you know, Joe?
Flo from Progressive.
Yeah. She's probably the richest person in comedy.
You'd think so. I mean, she's funny too. I think I bring this up every time we talk about her.
You do.
She's in Heartbreak Kid, and she won me over. She's hilarious.
Was she on that before the Progressive or post?
I don't know, but it's weird to see her without the Progressive makeup, because the Progressive makeup is such a distinct look.
Yeah.
It almost looks like Jack Nicholson when he plays the Joker, but then he goes back into Peach Face.
Yeah, yeah.
Like underneath, like that's her real face, and you're like, but you're the Joker.
Yeah. Well, it's weird too, because I have seen that other guy, Jamie, has been in stuff too.
Who's that?
The other Progressive guy. Who's like, he's like the...
I don't know no Jamie.
He's like the supporting cast, you know what I mean? But
he's the B team.
But he has a lot of... They were like giving him more stuff because I think she's phasing it out. And speaking of Jack Nicholson, I just watched Chinatown for the first time yesterday. Did you ever see Chinatown?
No, but you getting into the third wave?
Of what? Of Chinatown? There's a lot of weird things in there. But he at one point they're trying to interrogate him, and they fucking put him up against a fence, and they do the whole switchblade like that kind of a thing, and then they go, you know what happens to people who go sniffing around, and they just hold the blade in there as if you would like putting a gun in someone's mouth, and they're like, when you sniff around, and it goes Ksa! And goes up, and it just splits his whole fucking nostril open like that.
I'll never see that movie.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Irish Goodbye Podcast, a storytelling podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Feeney, being joined with me as always,
Mike Cannon. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know that was my worst fear, but I just found out that like a knife in the nostril and then actually following through with the cut. I can't do that.
Well, you watched Reservoir Dogs and they cut off a whole ear.
That.
What?
Never seen it.
No.
I own it. Never seen it.
You're a liar.
I don't know if you know how committed I am to rewatching the same movies over and over again.
But you own it.
Right.
You haven't seen Reservoir Dogs?
No.
But you've seen Pulp Fiction.
What? No, yeah, of course.
It's his equal level of insanity.
I know it is, but
I don't think you do.
I do, but the only difference between the two of them is that my 12th grade English teacher showed Pulp Fiction in class.
Yeah.
That's why I
Have you seen any other Tarantino movie?
Yeah, I've seen both Kill Bills. I've seen Hateful Eight. Hateful Eight was in the theater. I told that story here,
Hateful Eight's like 3 hours.
Hateful Eight was one of the worst movie experiences of my entire life. This story bears repeating because it's so preposterous. But we went to that movie theater.
It's actually the only Tarantino movie I've never seen is The Hateful Eight.
It's the only one I've seen in the theater. And we went, like, Nicole and I became movie cunts for, like, one night. We decided we were snobs and we were going to see the 35 millimeter film version of this Tarantino movie. And so I smoke a blunt on the street. I think maybe Nicole took a hit or something like that, but I think she was more like, yeah, you get weird, buddy. And so we go into this theater, and it has we're in the mezzanine, so it's like, kind of looks like a comedy special theater. It's awesome. But we go to sit down, and we got 2 bottles of wine for during the thing. And I'm stoned, and Nicole's like, I'm going to get the snacks. And I put the bottles of wine into the sleeves of my jacket and then put the jacket into Nicole's seat to hold the seat. I just thought that was a more like hidden way to keep it, nobody would see it. I wasn't sitting there with them on my lap getting ready to booze it up. So I put that in there. I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. Nicole comes back with like the food and she goes, oh, can you get that jacket? I forget they're in there. I whip the jacket like I'm a matador.
Yeah.
Both bottles fucking fly into the air. One shatters at the feet of us and the people sitting right next to us. And I'm so stoned, I take a napkin and start dabbing at the wine instead of cleaning the glass.
Yeah.
I like stabbed my soft palm on broken glass to the point where the guy sitting there was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I have no answer for you right now. But I did pick up the glass. I think I cut several main arteries. And then we sat there. The first half of that movie might as well not exist. And then the second half is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a real long one. Still though, Reservoir Dogs, man, that really like that one's like, it's like throwing me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's
listen,
yeah.
pal. There's a lot wrong with me, and I think Reservoirs
That's the
is
biggest
towards
problem.
the bottom of the list.
How wrong you are, my friend. It's now your biggest problem.
I think it's more telling that you're fixated on this than other imperfections.
Dude, once you watch that, you everything. I wouldn't be surprised if you and your father start getting along right afterwards.
You want to get into the first story?
Get it, well, baby, go crazy.
So I mean, this isn't. I don't even know if this is funny in any way.
Ooh,
but
all right, well then hold it.
No, I mean it just has to do with what you were talking about, and it's part of my life, and it's my goddamn podcast, so I'm going to talk about it regardless.
Damn.
So for the last month or so, there's been conversation about potentially having my dad meet my son, having him meet my niece, and just kind of like allowing that to happen. I've kept him. Everybody's familiar with my goddamn issues with my father. We don't have to get into the backstory. But I basically have been at this point where I'm like, the guy is like old as shit, He lives by himself for the first time ever. He's no longer the imposing, powerful guy that deserves my rage or overshadow rage. He's like, he's more of a feeble old dude. You know what I mean? And it actually took this fucking visit to get into that mind frame. But, reluctantly, we I agreed to it, and I'm just like, whatever. He got Crew like a Hess truck for Christmas. He's been pretty nice for the last couple weeks. So we go to his place, and it's like, it's just a bummer. Like where he lives, it's a fucking bummer. I'm not going to expose any details because it's not mine to expose, but it's just like, I've never seen him live like that. It's just a weird, surreal, out of body, but not like, it was like what Brendan and I were saying, where it's like, I'm not hovering from above like a drone. I'm like 8 inches outside of my head, so I'm watching my body do stuff, and I can't really control what it's doing. Yeah. I'm going through the motions, and so we get there. It's a bummer. First thing he says, and it made me know who I am and where I come from. Is he's like, so let's talk politics. Like, all right, I get why I say the most inappropriate thing immediately in every single situation. That's a funny joke.
That's a good bit.
It's a good bit, and honestly, the more I thought about it, it was the perfect thing to say because it came in. It was said instead of something like potentially awful later. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you're like holding that in, and this isn't to say like I can't talk politics with somebody with his views. This is to say that the last 2 times that we've hung out have out of nowhere erupted into political, not even fights because it wasn't two-sided, just political yellings. And so that was where that came from. And so, I'm kind of laughing at that, whatever. We're having a good time. He's, we're eating lunch. He's so fucking nervous, which again was like more of that feeble old dude thing where I'm like, I feel inappropriate for being mad at this fucking dude, And he was like, so, I've been watching your stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, I saw that thing you did with your sister, the thing with your sister. And I was like, oh, siblings. He's like, yeah, I didn't like it, but
it's just like it. I mean, as a person who is an actor himself, I mean, just to imagine if someone had ever just taking the half a second to be like, what if someone said this to me about one of my performances? How would that make me feel?
And he's got something out there that I could critique. If I'm like, I saw your fucking dry twat dating, app, whatever.
He killed that commercial. Though, so you can't say anything about it. I bought it. I signed up for the app.
I did too. I gave my support regardless. But I mean, it was just hilarious because he's just like, I hope you don't mind. He's like, if I directed it, like I just would have made a few different choices. And I'm like, cool, dude. Whatever. And we just get through the day mostly like, civil because I'm at this point where it's like, I don't even care, dude. I think I've said it before, but it's like Bobby Kelly's breakthrough that he had with his therapist was also a breakthrough for me because he said it, where he was like, yeah, dude, you don't get a dad. You're the dad now. That's what his therapist said to him, and Bobby has since repeated that story to me. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. The focusing on the past is just me being like a little boy. And it's like, no, I'm just the dad. And it's like, as long as you're not doing active harm or like weirdness to my son. It's like I'm perfectly fine with just not even acknowledging our history and just being like, yeah, just be a grandpa, dude. Because the entire week that I got to spend with my sister and my mother and like their family and watching my mom be a grandma, it just like, it kind of hits you where you're like, oh, this is like the best for her. She's having the fucking, greatest time ever. So the thought of, never allowing my dad to do that was like, all right, let's see how you do. You're auditioning, So that's it. Oh, no, it's not. On the way home, I got in the car and I cried like a 3-year-old whose toy got taken away. Like one of those like
Crew look at you?
He was like sleeping or, flicking his feet or something like that. He couldn't give a shit. But I'm just like, while driving, and Nicole's like, do you want to pull over? And I'm like, oh, like, just choking out the word no.
Was Nicole crying?
No, I think she was more alarmed than anything else because I don't think she's seen that type of like exorcism happen to my body.
The uncontrollable weep.
Oh, yeah. It was as if I was an anaconda that just ate like a soiled deer and needed it to exit my body immediately.
But now you're going to see him again. So it worked out as well.
Yeah, maybe. It
sounded like it was a positive outside of the comment, the acting line.
Yeah, that's just always going to be, which is perfectly, hey.
Yeah.
It only once can it end in murder. So
yeah. Well, as your therapist, I'd let you know this is a big breakthrough for you. This is a big of all of the 36 years we've been doing this podcast. There's been very few positive stories.
Well, I've also had to answer so many DMs after last week's episode of like, hey, dude, you good?
I can't believe why.
I mean, come on. Can a guy humorously threaten suicide 48 times on his own show in 60 minutes? I don't get the problem.
So that worked out well, though.
It's fine. It is what it is.
Now he's got a grandpa. Crew's got a grandpa.
He's got 2 grandpas, both Frank Rigatones.
Buddy, I'm just going to throw some in here quick because I had a wildly stressful weekend that just was one of those things of like the overwhelm to a point of like, do I need to just like do like just a ship hell and just leave the country for a while and just like figure it out on a beach somewhere,
Yeah. By the way, that's what this hour is for me.
Yeah. Let's see how many things we can try and figure out in the time.
I had to take my passport to cross the GWB. Like I just had to leave. I had to get out.
So we had I start, I guess and this is all kind of one quick thing, but so Friday we were going to shoot the sketch on Friday. But they were like, we foolishly wrote this sketch that involved a total of 8 different characters in it, which is a nightmare because it's only a 3-page script. So that involves pretty much everyone saying 1 to 2 lines, which is, a part of me felt bad because, we were saying like, it sucks to have someone come all the way out and donate their time just for 1 line. But Ryan Beck, who was one of the people that was in it, was just like, no, you're making stuff. People are just happy to be, a part of something. I'm like, some people are. But so we go, so whatever. So
Ryan Beck, his hair looks like a quail. It has that like
it's got a nice little tuft.
And it's natural. It's perfect.
So he's got so we cast everybody for this shoot on Friday, and Thursday night we look and it's going to be like 4 degrees, and with the wind it's gonna 21 mile an hour winds, and it's gonna be like -36 with that. So we go, fuck, we can't shoot because it's also a predominantly outdoor shoot, which I don't know why we didn't think about in end of January might be tough. So we go, fuck, all right, let's try and shoot it Saturday. So we postpone and push everybody off of that, and then we go, let's do that one instead, right? So we put it to Saturday, and then was the Connor fight Friday?
It was Saturday.
The Connor fight was Saturday.
Yeah.
So Saturday comes, we do this shoot. By the way, it's like instead of 6 degrees, it's 10 degrees outside with 10 mile an hour winds. It's fucking freezing outside, and we're going through this shoot, and it feels like we have these, Brendan and I have our big like parkas on and stuff, and then once we do the suit, we like disrobe quickly and like get in the scene and like
You do the NFL quarterback in Lambeau.
Yeah, dude.
Just the like big oversized.
Yeah, and the second you take it off, we're like just instantly your hands are starting to get that biting cold, and like it's one of those things where we're we're trying to figure this scene out. Oh, and so Saturday morning, even a little bit before that, Saturday morning, the first shot we're going to do is in my apartment. We're going to do a green screen shot with Ian, and we're like, Ian's going to be there from 10:30 to 1. We coordinated it, staggered it perfectly with time-wise, even to give us some buffer room. Ian gets there, and he's like, oh, I only have until 12 now, which we're like, well, that fucks everything up that we're going to do. And then another comic calls us. I'm not even going to say who it is because it pissed us off. And he goes, sorry, man, woke up not feeling great. Like, I don't want to get any more sick, like, especially if we're going to go outside. So I got to cancel. Hope you understand. And it's like, yeah, you were going to be on camera in an hour from now. So hard to understand, but...
I kind of understand, though, because especially feeling even a little bit sick now... That would have been worse had he shown up.
Yeah, but he also lives very close to where we were shooting, too. So it wasn't like a full, like, I got to get up and drive and go over and all this other stuff. So he canceled. So we're quickly trying to be like, how the fuck? We're, like, trying to shoot this while being like, how can we change this other part? Because should we cut this part? Should we try and recast it? Who's around? Everyone we're reaching out to is not around. And thank God we reach out to Andy Fiore, who's a funny comic who just, like, he's like, yeah, I'm around. I'll fucking do it. Like, what do you need? And we're like, you saved the fucking shoot. And then Ian's like, oh, and by the way, now I have until 1:30 again because my call that I had to go on got pushed. So we're like, so it was like an hour and a half of complete, and I've never seen Sagalow this overwhelmed. Usually on shoot days, I'm the one who's like super like focused and trying to be like, I gotta do this, we gotta do this, and how the fuck are we gonna get this done? And we gotta, like, I'm very like trying to problem solve, and Sagalow's like, it's fine, we're gonna figure it out, it'll be cool. And in this day, he was like, dude, I don't fucking, like, he was, you know, he had a tough week himself, so he was just kind of so overwhelmed. He's like, what the fuck are we gonna do, man? I don't fucking know. Should we fucking even do this anymore? Like, should I do comedy? Like, he was just losing it, you know?
But he's usually so measured.
Yeah, so I had to, like, bring him back to earth. So then we go outside, we do the whole shoot, it's fucking freezing, and all these hilarious comics dedicated their time, and we did it as quickly as possible. Be like, all right, everyone outside now, shoot. All right, run back inside, warm up, back outside, shoot, run back inside. So that part worked out. So we get done with that shoot. It goes longer than I think it's going to be due. By the time I get done, it's like 4 p.m. and we started at, 9:45, 10 in the morning or something. So it's been like this all day thing. I'm physically drained and mentally drained. I get back. I start like doing editing that I need to do for Monday's video. Then is the fucking Conor McGregor fight. So I'm like, I'll put this on hold. I'll go, I go to Brooklyn. Schultz is having some people over for his, like final goodbye because they're just going to Miami for 3 months.
No rules, baby.
Yeah, to
Live
pretty
it up,
much just
shoot content.
redo an entire comedy scene down there in 3 months. And so we watched the thing, and it was a great fucking hang, man. It was just like Sagalow showed up, and Casey and Robbie and Shane was there, and Ryan Long, a bunch of other people. It was just a good Scopo. It was a good hang, and we're getting excited. It felt kind of like this, like a comedy club vibe for a little while. You know what I mean? Like, it had that thing of like, oh, and you're there, and you're like people who are like normally don't like interact, but all of them. So it's you can't even figure out who to talk to first because you're like, I haven't talked to any of you in so long. Sagalow's there. I'm like, I mush his face away. I'm like, I talk to you every day. I got to talk to somebody else. So we watched the Conor fight. He obviously fucking gets knocked the fuck out in dramatic and depressing fashion.
I had it DVR'd.
Yeah, well, it's too late. And so we do that. So then I'm like, fucking, that's at least a nice end to a night. I go home the next morning. I'm starting to fucking. I have a show in Bushwick, so of Nori Davis's show. So I'm like, I'm just gonna fucking bang all this stuff out. I finish editing, and then like I have computer problems, so that's causing a lot of stress. And I'm like, all right, but I still can get it done before I have to leave for Bushwick. And now it's one of those things where time's coming up against it. I'm having that thing where I'm like, should I fucking cancel this show? And it's like, so Nori, how he does it is it's in this basement like studio, and what they do is they have like 8 audience members, but they also live stream it on Zoom and Twitch and a bunch of other things. So it's kind of like, it's cool because it's indoor comedy, but it's distant and a very small amount of people. But then there also is like a bunch of people watching, so that kind of feels it was a
like
nice
the stack screens.
Yeah, they show that it's actually what the weirdest part about it is. It's your entire like video of you is projected on the wall, which is in your direct eyesight, which is just so weird because you're just watching you perform to watch you. That part is weird. But so as that's leading up to it, it's like, I have to leave at 7, and at 6 o'clock, I start getting all these I get this notification from people saying like, you this person is using your video. This person's using your, they mentioned they were tagging me in this video. So I reached out to this person and I was like, hey, could you please credit me in this? Because a lot of people have used the popcorn video of mine because it's, because it went viral or whatnot, and then they use it, and a lot of them do tag me, but sometimes they don't, and a lot of times it's like they just don't know whose video it is, and they just need to be someone needs to reach out, and I'd say almost 100% of the time are very happy to credit me and are like, no worries, because they don't want to, like, they're like, oh fuck, my bad, dude, whatever the fuck.
It also takes zero effort whatsoever and does nothing to their bottom line.
Nothing. So I reach out to this guy and I ask him if he can credit me. And Alex, can you just pull that part up for a sec? Because I reach out to him and he goes,
or just keep it on me.
Yeah, forever. So I reach out to him. I just say, hey, could I? Oh, that was fun. That was like a poltergeist thing with the TV and the video.
The shit out of me.
All right. Well, I don't know that we maybe even need it, but I can just read the actual thing out because this is worth the thing, right? So I said to him, I just go, hello, this is my video. Can you please credit me in the description? That's what I said. Okay. And then like 6 hours later, now between that point, I realized that I kind of 5 hours in, maybe I'm like, the guy's not responding. He's updated his stories since he's left me on scene. So I put up a thing on my story going just like, I didn't even say he stole it. I just said like, another person on the internet using one of my videos without crediting me. Like, that's the internet, folks. That's kind of a thing, right? So this dude, instead of responding to me, goes to my profile, watches my stories, sees that, which I didn't have him tagged in it, so he sees that, and then responds, and then goes, literally just saw a comment saying, I'm stealing your stuff, never heard of you or been to your page before, that was posted by someone else, that's where I got it, get over yourself. If you would have waited until I went through my DMs, I could have easily credited you without a problem. Don't like people reposting you, then stop making content, or make your page private. So already I'm like blood red mad, but I'm trying to keep it simple.
Why? That seems like such a normal
Get
response.
over yourself was like, and if I could reach through the phone, you know?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I'm going to keep this civil because I already know where this is going, which is going to be an online argument for sure. And I've already had this with that YouTuber that time who was like, oh, this guy tried to fuck me or whatever the fuck. So I'm like, I'm keeping fucking receipts now. So I was very measured in my response. If you go, Alex, and pull that back up, I go, I was notified in my mentions by people tagging me in the video. I never said you stole it. I said you used it without crediting me, which you did. Are you saying that now that you know it's my video, you're still not going to credit me? I'm like a fucking undercover FBI informant where I'm like, are you saying you murdered them? Talk into my shirt, please. You know, like that kind of thing.
Do you know what that looks like? It looks like in the fappening when pictures would come out with the head and Redditors would circle birthmarks just to notify it's like, it is Bella Thorne. So circling scene and
yeah. So eventually, the guy never leaves me on scene again. So now I just go scorched earth and I post all of our fucking, I post all the DMs and stuff like that. Then he goes on his stories. He tells some version that I'm sicking my followers on him. I never once said for any of my followers to ever comment or tag me or be like, fuck this guy or whatever the fuck. I just literally showed all the evidence, everyone being good humans that they were, went over, it got like over 150 comments of people being like, you were one of them, of course, one of the early ones too, thank you very much, went on there and was like, I like how, especially you said it too, because it was his most popular video by over 200,000 views. So, and then people were DMing him, like Ian Fidance tried to have a nice civil discourse with him, being like, hey man, like, let me explain from an artist perspective, like what this does. And was trying to be very calm. And Ian makes this really measured argument. The guy's like, yeah, I know, but then he sicked his followers on me. And so I decided to be evil about it. And then Ian's like, well, that's not actually what happened. And so what you're doing, like he's trying to be civil and the guy's just like, no, but fuck that. You know?
Can I give my theory yet?
Sure.
This is a kid. Like, this is a high schooler. I
think he's somewhere in the 18 to 25 range for 100%.
Very, very young. Because even at some point, I don't know if it was in the I think he was arguing with, like, Katie Boyle.
He was arguing with every single person in the comments.
That shows something. Yeah. That he's got a lot of time. But or she. But also, one of the comments was like, and now a bunch of adults are coming at me.
Yeah,
like, oh no, this kid.
Yeah, so you just go thinking where you're like, all right, well, there's no reason. And here's the thing, man. It's so hard as a and I said this in my stories, and this is just a PSA to everybody listening out there, and it's such a hard thing because it's a 50-50. You have to walk that line of like, overall, I could take a macro perspective and say, because he has 4 other accounts on top of the one that he posted on, and he posted it to all of them. And so if you add all of those views up, it's like close to 600,000 additional people saw my content, right? And so it's like, but if it was my stand-up, that would be one thing, because you could be like, oh, this one guy on the camera the whole time, who is it? Let's find out who this guy is, kind of a thing. Versus the popcorn video where I'm in it barely until like the end, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So it's that thing of being like, yes, you want exposure, you want people sharing your videos and stuff, but it's that other thing of like, if they're not crediting you and people aren't finding you, then what's the point of it besides them just literally profiting off of your work?
Yeah.
So then it became a thing of being like, not grateful, but then I had to leave and go do Nori's show in the middle of like posting about all this. So my whole PSA also to people, which by the way, when I got to the show, I got there like 15 minutes late. And the second I walked in, they were like, Feeney here? All right, we're going to bring him up. The first comment, I'm like taking my coat off. I'm like, fuck it. And I went.
They temperature check you. You're at 114.
Yeah. Dude, I spent the first 10 minutes of my set 5 minutes of my set just fucking trashing and complaining and fucking about this whole thing. But my whole thing to say was I was very heartwarmed by all the people that came to my aid and stuff like that, which is very nice. No one had to do that, which is very kind of them. But I would say this. If you follow a lot of meme accounts on social media, which no blame, I follow a bunch, and they're fun and quick and easy and targeted and whatnot, just look at some of the posts. If they have credited people, like Barstool does it, like now Fat Jew has to do it because they've gotten in so much trouble, or like the fuck Jerry's of the world, whatever the fuck. If as long as they Tank Sinatra is a perfect example. He always credits people. That's how Robin Shaw fucking blew the fuck up, because he shared her video, tagged her, and then the rest is history. If you follow any of these meme accounts, I please would urge you to check to see if they credit the accounts. And if they don't credit it, then they're probably like this guy was, and a piece of shit, and I would recommend unfollowing them and just follow the ones that do. But the good news is, happy to report that a couple days later, all of the videos have been removed from their page, so now they're fucking no longer profiting, and their best shit is gone, and
the internet is just.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that ended up working out, but it was one of those, like, when you just have like that, you can feel that your eyebrows have been scrunched like this for a number of hours, like it's just like that hot heat.
What do you mean? Do you know? I invented that.
I can't imagine.
I'm
pain,
a white Klingon.
The pain right here that you must have at all times.
No, it's solid muscles. I have like a 6-pack in my angry zone.
Is that what those 11s are? They're just fucking sick obliques?
They're cum gutters.
Yeah, for your nose?
Yep, goddamn right. Suck my nose.
Suck my 5-star review.
Oh, I will.
There's so many of them. Leave us one if you haven't. Go to iTunes and tell a friend about the podcast. For the love of God, tell a friend. And if you guys want to support the show, you can get a Gas Digital Network subscription by using the code IGP. They get a 2-week free trial, access to all of our episodes. We have over 200, and only the most recent 15 are available for free. So you get all of those episodes, all the bonus content, all the other shows on the network, all their bonus content and backlog stuff. It's great. Just check it out.
And if you're a new listener to the show, which we get every single week, obviously people are coming in. They're not necessarily familiar with us, but they may have seen a clip. They like the show. If you want to get the backstory, if you want to understand why we are
The Sopranos of Podcast,
The Sopranos of Podcast, but also as individuals, why, then go to the beginning of the pod and get a real sense of where the fuck we're coming from. Because I feel like sometimes people come in and they're like, this is really funny. I don't know who these guys are. There's only 15 episodes, whatevs. Sign up, Gas Digital Network, IGP. You get it free for what, 2 weeks?
Yep.
Right?
14 days, yeah.
So even if you don't like it, download every fucking episode, keep it to your computer, catch up with the show, and just, I'm telling you, we grow on you.
Yeah. Like a lump on your spine.
That's right.
And so
yeah, even if we're not cancerous, we're almost inoperable.
Yeah, but we're not benign.
We're wrapped around your cord.
Yeah,
we won't cause harm, but we can't be removed.
You can send us an email if you got a crazy story, irishgoodbyepodcast@gmail.com. We still do have 1 or 2 of those that are in there for the next, which I'm sure we'll save till next week or something like that. But and guys, follow us on social media. You can also check out our new podcast, our Patreon podcast, podcast. Here's the Scenario, which now is available on iTunes as well.
Everything.
So now you'll have, we still have the Patreon, but once a week we'll put out a free episode on iTunes and stuff. Here's the Scenario, which again, we changed from What's the Scenario. So Here's the Scenario. It's on iTunes. It just came out yesterday. So check it out, subscribe to it. It's just silliness, completely different podcast than this because we're just doing hypotheticals and what ifs. No storytelling, no bullshit. It's all just fucking no complaining about people stealing our content or our dads. It's just
yeah. I mean, dad stuff it comes
slips
out.
in. Yeah. You can never fully get
I'm
rid of it.
only human.
Yeah, but check that out. Here's the Scenario, and then find us when we got shit coming on, like Mike.
Yeah, social media at I am Mike Cannon, at I am Mike Feeney. Go to my YouTube page, Mike Cannon Comedy. Go to Feeney's YouTube page, Mike Feeney Comedy. We kept it real uniform for all you guys, so especially you new listeners, come and support our other shit because, like we say, that's currency. Even though it's free for you and it might seem like a little bit of a pain in the ass, that little click definitely moves the needle for us and certainly adds up. So please subscribe to our YouTubes also. And I'm February 4th through 6th. I'm going to be at Comics Mohegan Sun Roadhouse. I'm doing 3 shows, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, with the potential to add an early one on Saturday. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, come out to that. Tickets at MikeCannonComedy.com or Comics Roadhouse.
Who are you with?
Whatevs. I think Gordon Baker Bone.
Oh, love Gordon.
Opening. Yeah,
he's great.
He's the best. So
he's great.
I'm pumped. I mean, I probably won't see him besides the show because I'm just going to I might do mushrooms and sit with myself.
Smart.
Yeah, like in the dark.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's worth it. Get a little notepad. And just
do you think I could light a candle in a hotel room, or is that going to be an issue?
No, they're pretty big on no candles.
Really?
Yeah.
Incense?
How would anybody know?
I don't know.
If it sets off the fire alarm.
Well, that's the only problem.
And there's a smell.
That would be, yeah, that's the whole point.
You can get one of those light switch ones.
Gru loves those.
Yeah. Or the ones that are just paper but have a little fan on them.
You know
so
what
it
sucks
looks like
about those?
flame?
And I've never considered it before having an 18-month-old is like I've taught Crew that flames are hot and he sees candles and he's like, hot, hot. And then he takes the plastic one and he's like, hot. And then he touches it and he's like, what is this bullshit? Like, throws it in my face. He's like, I'm going to go over and just start grabbing fire.
Uh-oh.
What, are you fucking lying to me?
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Fire tamer. Yeah. Yeah, guys, go to, make sure, again, go to the YouTube, putting up clips every week and sketches, obviously. And thankfully, it was funny. I put up a thing from comics from doing just a little crowd work with people, and there were people from the show that were in the comments that were like, we were fucking there for that. So go check out Cannon when he's there next week.
Yeah, come
and yeah, MikeFeeneyComedy.com. I don't have any dates up there right now because the shit that I'm doing is all just local stuff right now for the most part. So yeah, again, I am Mike Feeney on social media and just share that shit. And Alex, where can people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at I am Alex Scar, and check out my podcast, Broad Topics, TOPIX, with me and Kim Congdon. It's right here on Gas Digital Network every Thursday at 9:30 p.m., or you could catch it for free on iTunes and YouTube every Monday.
Now, I'm very tantalized, teased, and excited because you did a gig yesterday, and I don't know what happened, but I know the results were as such that Brendan couldn't even bring himself to play video games with us last night. He said, I took a 90 milligram edible for the first time, and I hate myself and need to just lay down and watch a movie or something. So that's the Pulp Fiction ending. So
let me give you,
and
even
I know
more
nothing else.
Let me give you even more of the Pulp Fiction. Is that Brendan? When I gave it to him, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not taking the full thing. Like, I'm just gonna bite half and then drive home." And then I was like, "So don't take the whole thing." And he was like, "Nah, dude, I want to go to the moon." And he ate the whole thing, and he went to the dark side of the moon.
Oh yeah. He looked like he might never come back. He just sounded really despondent when I spoke to him. But I'm excited because you guys, again, as we've talked about on this podcast, the level in which our friendship is affected by this podcast, that I know as much as Alex about what happened yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we insist on giving you, the listeners, our true reactions. I'm finding out these stories. Any story we tell on the podcast, Mike and I are hearing it as the first time as you are.
Yeah.
So because we want our natural first reactions to be preserved. So hit us all with what the fuck happened yesterday.
So yesterday's gig was pretty special because this was actually supposed to take place in December. And it was a gig that was billed to me as like always fun. It's indoors, but it's like it's at this private place, and it's a big place, but it's limited seating, always safe. The crowd is always good,
And
right?
sold out.
And sold out, always there. It's built in, sold out, and it's always
It's great.
good.
It's no marketing.
So I'm like, oh shit, like that's awesome. I never have to mention it. I never have to talk about it. I just get to do it and see what's what. So in that and this fucking, digital arms race of content that we're all currently feeling, I was like, hey man, I have enough material to cobble together. I'm pretty happy with like 35 to 40 minutes of it. I don't have to put all of it out, but I could shoot like a special at the end of the year. Like, holy shit, how good would that be? And that was always my goal when I put out Life Begins. I was like, I by the end of this year, I want an hour. Like, I want to do an hour.
Life Ends, and then you just
Yeah, Life Begins. Nope.
Yeah.
What a terrible title for that special. I've never considered
Life
it until-
Halted.
Yeah, Life Arrested.
Life on the Rocks. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I've never been so sad about it other than now. So while I deal with that, but in my head, I was like, oh, this is a good idea. Like, it'll be kind of a loose, this is, what was I going to call it? I was going to call it like unfinished business because the bits weren't necessarily exactly where I'd like them to
and
be.
you were going to show up in a fucking a black suit that was ripped as if you just survived an explosion like James Bond. I got unfinished business to take care.
with a cut right over my eye like Scar.
Yeah.
And but I just thought it was a good idea, and whatever the project was going to be, it could be, it would be cool.
Sure.
So I get Homeless Pimp, I get John NY Video Guy to come. They both shot my special. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. I get two of the best guys to do it. So it's like this. It's a small project, but it's going to look just as good as my big project.
Yes, of course.
So the day that's supposed to happen, of course, it snows about 14 inches, and that's the end of my year.
That was the biggest snowfall we've had in 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that day.
It was like the classic 2020, which actually eventually led to my Christmas Day breakdown because it was like the culmination of just a shit year, and then the trees literally fell and we were almost trapped. You couldn't leave, all that shit. So I, whatever, I get over it. We reschedule it for late January. I'm lucky again. I get Homeless Pimp. I get John to come with. I get Brendan to open. It's going to be a good time, right? We get there. And it's, I don't even want to say where it is, but we get to this place.
Long Island.
It's on Long Island, yeah. And it's at the basement of a popular venue. And this basement, it looks like where they kind of brainstormed and created coronavirus. Like, it looks like that much of an Illuminati stranglehold Bilderberg group. Like, literal... Every other closet is a movable bookshelf with a room in the back. One had stripper.
Like in a cool way or in like a terrifying
in an awesome way.
Oh, okay.
In the best way possible. In a way where you're like, I see why they drink babies.
Right.
It's like, smoothing me up. I don't give a fuck. I'm ready to join this.
Yeah.
So, there's rooms with like stripper poles that you can't even see. You go through a weird old timey phone booth, and all of a sudden you're in this back room where the green room and all this stuff. It's so fucking cool. But as people are coming in and going to their assigned seats, you kind of get the vibe of who they are, and they're private members of this place.
Right.
So they're upper crust Long Island trash.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's wealthy white trash.
They're white trash with boat money.
That's right. Yeah. And boy, do they have the fastest boat that can buy.
Yeah.
Can't
the cigarette boat with flames on the side of it.
Oh, yeah. Can't fit their kids on it, but boy, do they have fun.
Yeah.
So,
every one of those parents owns a 2-seater Miata. And you're like, come on, dude. You have 2 newborns. They're like, but it's a convertible.
It's that one thing I do for me.
Yeah. This is for them. Everything I do is for them. This is for me.
My uncle had got like all of his daughters, talk about Long Island, got all of his daughters' names tattooed on a rose stem. And then, all 4 of them, I forget who asked, but I think it was probably my grandmother. She was like, what about your wife? And he's like, children are forever.
Yeah. I got to be honest. I agree with that. Like, Erica's the love of my life. I wouldn't get her name tattooed.
No, I want to desperate. So I just put on my wedding ring again for like the first time in 10 months because I figured if I was inside, who am I telling?
Right.
But I do want to get like some sort of tattoo there. But, Nicole's like, just get like an N on your finger. And I was like, why? So I have to cut it off in 6 years?
Sure, that went over well.
It didn't. Not a good bet.
So anyway, so get the tattoo aside.
Right.
Back to Long Island people.
So we get there, and like the lady that runs it is really nice. One of the is it's like his room basically, and I don't know if I should say that actually. Bleep that out maybe, Alex. So because a lot of people have been hitting him up to do it, it's just become a huge thing.
Not after this.
Nope. So this Irish guy from Long Island hosts it, but he and he's telling us about it. They're telling us about it. They're also like, hey, we're totally cool and everything's on the up and up. But if you see a flashing light, get off the stage. Like, drop the microphone, don't say bye, and get off the stage. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's totally fine. Like, everything's cool. Like, we're good. But if you see, like, they said it like 8 times, and I'm like,
like a speakeasy, like if you see the flashing light, pull the chandelier so the piano player goes behind the wall and it turns it back into a bookshelf.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and I first of all I was like, oh, there's no problem. They're like, we just
Alex,
have
please laugh on Mike. Thank you.
They're like, we have a hard out at 8:30. We started at 7. There's no way we're gonna hit 8:30.
Yeah.
I'm stretching to 40. It's perfectly fine. You know. So we have no problem with it. I'm like, yeah, cool. We're gonna be out. It's all good. So we're sitting in the back waiting to go on. We can't really go out to watch the show because the door of the phone booth, like, you open it and just goes Kah! Like, it just makes that kind of noise every time. And it was like, I tried to do it to watch the host set, and everybody just goes and just looks over to me, and I'm like,
so it's a 3-man show. There's a host, too. So the producer's hosting it?
The producer is hosting it. Also a hilarious comic, though.
Yeah.
I don't want to say his name, but,
Nice guy. I've worked with him before.
Yeah, really nice
Uncle
guy.
Vinny's.
And also would probably do well on this podcast. We should have him, thematically. So
this should have been the episode.
I know. No. Never mind. Sorry. Forget it. You'll never be on. It was this or nothing.
Yeah.
So we, I disrupt the entire show. I kind of crawl back into the other room.
Yeah. You go up, Kah! And you go, oh, sorry. And all of a sudden it closes and you go, oh, I forgot my phone. Kah!
No.
Kah!
Brendan did. He lumbered out there because he wanted to watch it. And, he circus tumbled into the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
Everybody giggled, whatever. But we kind of could hear what was going on. And it wasn't an energetic crowd, but we were like, I think we hear laugh at, we weren't sure because we're kind of really disconnected from the room and we didn't know exactly how muted the walls were.
And now is Pimp and John set up already at this point?
They're set up. They're totally set up.
They're in the crowd?
Yeah, and they're like, this is definitely weird. And they're like, you can't get anybody from the crowd's face in it. And like, hardcore. And we were like, all right, that's what are they on, fucking Epstein's log?
Yeah,
yeah. Jesus Christ. So we, they're set up, all that stuff. Brendan goes out. I'm kind of half listening. I have to piss every 6 seconds. The lady that runs it wouldn't ever stop talking, so I was just like pretending I had to piss. She's like, you pissed 3 minutes ago. I was like, I know, I just, coffee. And I kept walking back into the bathroom. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't take this fucking ear beating for much longer. So
another episode of Mike gets socially dominated.
Yeah, what the fuck? But Brendan actually did too. And as a matter of fact, everybody in the room did. And the guy who ran it was like, I am sorry for her. And not to mention, she had like the lowest cut shirt on of all time and just was like full tits and in an almost I dare you to look, or I dare you not to look.
50s?
Was she?
Yeah.
No,
40s?
She was in her 30s.
Oh.
I would assume. Yeah. But kept talking to me about cold cheese pizza and hammering home how good it was. And I was like, I couldn't be less interested in this conversation.
Was she stoned, do you think?
No, but I was.
Yeah.
So, that's probably why I was.
So now I'm waiting and starving for cold pizza. And
I ordered a pizza from her at that moment. I was like, I'm not getting that bullshit, but just give me the regular one you guys serve here.
Yeah.
So I go out and at this point, Brendan goes on, right?
Hold on a sec. Do you think any place does that?
What?
Do you think there's a business or like a restaurant or a bar that sells cold pizza, like on the menu?
No, so this is what it is. It's hot pizza with cold cheese. so they don't put the cheese in the oven with it. They just bake the bread and the fucking sauce.
Oh, I hate that.
She was like, it's a huge it's a Long Island delicacy, and the places has lines wrapped around the fucking block.
But do you think there's any, because I do feel like there's a market, because a lot of people love cold pizza. There should be a business where people give you like a pizzeria, a slice place, where they go, do you want a hot slice or a cold slice? And they'll give you like a refrigerated slice that you could just fucking eat. It's the same pizza, it's just, cold.
We should open up a place called Cold Pizza and Wings.
Okay,
I
now
love
you're
cold
throwing wings in there. You like cold wings.
You don't like next day wings?
I don't know if I do, because I like the snap of the crunch of it.
I'm not saying I don't like hot wings.
Yeah.
I'm saying I like cold wings.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we'll talk about the business strategy on this, but I do
Cold pizza and wings and Chinese food.
and then hot beers, something that's
Yeah, and warm beers.
and then cut to us just with our empty pockets outstretched. Like, how did this fail?
Well, but all we did was order from our neighbors, and then put it in a fridge,
Yeah, in a college mini fridge. We couldn't even have inventory.
and upsell by $12.
Yeah, why is this cold slice $6?
The broccoli and the General Tso's is just stuck together.
Oh
like a
yeah.
snowball.
Oh, you ever do that? You take the Chinese thing and you put it on the frying pan to
Yeah.
heat it up, and it just falls out in one coagulated like icicle of food.
I'm not
a cube.
I'm not proud to admit this, but at my weakest point, I've picked that cube up and eaten it like an apple. I really have. I aimed for chicken first, but I've eaten it like an apple.
The old Cannon Chinese cube tick. Tick.
No ticky.
Yeah.
No laundry.
Oh, if only Alex were listening. All right, let's keep moving. And so the door's too loud. So, you're in the back.
The
You're getting
door's
dominated.
coughing every time you open it. Brendan's been on stage for like 10 minutes or whatever, and I haven't heard any of his set. I'm too busy avoiding social interactions. And then finally, I kind of go outside, and he's probably 15 minutes into a 20-minute set.
He's doing 20. Okay.
Again,
so he should be lit at 15.
We started at 7. 7:05. We had a hard 7 start because it's going to be an 8:30 hard stop, right? The SLA.
And is it
coming.
sold out?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's sold out in the sense that all the tables and seats were taken.
Sure.
There's definitely a lot of space, but it's like
Well, it's a huge place. So what you're saying is you say 30 people, 50 people. I don't know. I'm trying to guess.
60.
60. Okay.
I'd say 60,
yeah,
probably.
Great.
Yeah. So maybe less. I don't know. Numbers might as well be numbers.
They are.
Might as well be Chinese.
Aren't you in luck?
So I get up. Brendan's like 15 minutes into a joyless set. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, on his part, on the audience's part, on everybody in the surrounding town's part, not one human had a shred of fun. And Brendan is like, he's really doing and delivering it in the same cadence as it worked on his album, as it's worked in countless clubs, and they're just like,
yeah.
just looking at him like he's a fucking like he's literally a zoo exhibit. Like they're just kind of like, whoa, remember the times when comedy was a thing? Like they went there to almost
watching.
to watch a fucking VCR salesman hang themselves in front of him. So Brendan's up there and he's bombing, and he's like asking questions. He's calling them trash quite a bit, which I think they think they're not. So that like struck them wrong immediately. And a lot of Brendan's act is predicated on how he feels about himself, and it's a lot
people
of
from Long Island.
and people from Long Island, and it's a lot of throwing around the trash word. So I think they were in this weird, almost like trash vortex where they all disagreed on the general principles of what's trash.
And I'm sure they also probably have pretty strong political opinions, which I feel like might make them a bit more sensitive to certain
I wonder.
to certain words and definitions of trash.
I think like they aren't. It was a weird vibe because they're not like stand by the side of the road with a sign Trump supporters. They're the ones that probably funded some of the insurrectionists.
Yeah.
Like they may have tossed some cash to their fucking dopey cousin who then ran into AOC's office and jerked off to the smell of her seat.
Okay.
That was me. That's why I grew this beard.
So,
fit in.
yeah.
So, Brendan's having a tough time. He's asking questions. He's trying to do the crowd work thing where he's like, I'm going to bring you into this. And it's just not fucking happening. It's not working. And I'm noticing that he's like going long, and even on stuff that there's a laugh, get the fuck off. He's not.
Where is he lit at this? Because he should be lit at 15.
He was lit at 18.
18.
So
at most he's got a 5-minute window.
At most,
get
yeah.
Off. So 23 minutes.
23 minutes, which still would have given me 48 to play with,
sure.
which is perfectly fine, right? So he's hitting a joke and then kind of asking somebody a follow-up question. Hitting the joke and then asking somebody a follow-up question. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm not mad at Brendan, so to say. Really, I'm mad at the whole situation. This fucking sucks. I'm kind of embarrassed that I asked Homeless Pimp and John to film this because it's just clearly not a filmable show. I just got done being at Uncle Vinny's with Lewis, and by the end of that week, I knew how to do comedy again.
Right.
And I feel completely competent, and I was on this real flow and felt pretty good. Wednesday was such a nightmare, but by Saturday, it's oh, okay.
Sure.
I'm a professional again. I know how to do it. So I had that going into this performance, and I'm just seeing Brendan, and he keeps asking questions, and so it's he's at 25, he's at 28, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then he's at 31.
Did they second light him?
They say, and but I didn't see anything. I'm behind in a booth with Pimp and fucking John, and I'm kind of watching over their shoulder. And, the guy is standing at the doorway, the loud doorway where we exited, and he's there with his phone. So I don't know if he's
he's right at the side of the stage.
He's right at the side of the stage, but he's still 20 feet away, or 30 feet away. But so I don't know what's happening, and Brendan's at 35 now, and I'm like, what?
So long to from if you think you're doing 20 and then you're literally almost doing double the amount of time, and especially if you're bombing during that feels like 3 days.
He did 42 minutes.
No, he didn't.
He did
42
minutes. 42 minutes.
That is.
And do you know why he stopped? Because Papa Cannon just flew him in like he's a Boeing 737. I just fucking threw my phone
I can't
up.
believe you waited till 40.
I just didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is this?
42 minutes.
And I was just like, what?
At no point did he do the, hey, did you guys light me?
Never.
That moment? That I would have done that at 21, 22, 23, 24.
Dude, insane. So 42 minutes,
So he ran his whole special.
He ran the whole thing plus more. Plus he found that. Plus he
found that extra minute you wrote.
Plus he didn't give me a single question to ask any of them.
Oh,
because
yeah,
he found out their
mined.
fucking social security numbers.
Yeah.
I had nothing to. I knew their name and their middle name and their first kids, first period. And I was just like, this is insane. I have
because that's the worst when if a person in front of you does so much crowd work, because it's not like we rely on crowd work, but it's more of a thing of where you go. If you're in the back of the room, just for the people listening, if you're in the back of the room and you see someone doing crowd work and you're like, oh, these people that he's talking to have been married 47 years and it gets a nice applause, and you're like, oh, maybe I can do something with that when I get on. Then you have to start going who is he talking to? You have to figure out who in the crowd he's talking to and try to remember that, but in a reverse way for when you get on stage to be look left and in the middle somewhere.
Well, and especially when you're not performing as much as you'd like, it's kind of a device to get into your shit.
Yeah.
So if I haven't ironed out any segues, the very least I can do is ask a question that leads directly into the topic I'm going to discuss
100%.
next. So it's just a tougher 42 minutes, right? But at least at this point it's 7:50.
And is it still bombing from
the moment he started till the moment he ended? Dude,
I wish that hell on no one.
It's not his fault. I'm saying that honestly. It's not his fault. He gets off and collapses into I almost said a bag of bones, but it was a ball of bones.
Dripping sweat?
Pouring sweat, the most physical activity he's gotten in, a fortnight. And but in my head, I'm like, I think I can do, this is fine. I got 40 minutes. I was like, I'll cut out some of the stuff I was thinking about doing. I'll keep it tighter. I know how to push them up top.
So how much time do you have left to
I have
play
40
with?
minutes.
You have exactly 40.
I have exactly 40 minutes. So I was like, you know what? I'll do 30 of the killer of what I do, of what I have now, and that'll just be like I think I could do this. The greatest delusion on earth. I get on stage, and Brendan kept asking what they do for a living, and literally every single person was in real estate. Like every single person, none of them knew each other. I get, or they probably knew each other because they were all members, but like they weren't coworkers. They were all like competition for each other. So I get on stage. I'm like, I have just a thing to say to this crowd. I know exactly how to bust them open. They'll know I've been listening. This will mean a lot to them. I get on stage and I go, "Hello, Real Estate Convention of Long Island." And they were just like,
"That's not who we are."
Yeah, they're like, "What convention?" And I was like, I thought I was being silly. I literally said, I'm like, I thought I was kidding. Whatever. And it did have me like question reality a few times, because I think at some point I stopped and I was just like, you guys have never been trained to watch a live performance of any kind.
Right.
Because I've just never seen people experiencing so many different things in one room where you all came to see a show.
Right.
Like, you didn't come here for dinner. It wasn't dinner plus comedy. It was comedy. Like, that's why you came to this place. Otherwise, it's not really like a fucking hang, of a venue.
Sure.
So it's like they were not only not interested in me, they weren't interested in themselves.
Right.
Like, I'd ask them a question, one of the 6 that Brendan left me on Earth, and
What'd you eat last Thursday?
Yeah. What's your daughter's biggest fear? Yeah. I don't know. Some man asking that question.
Yeah. Now, also, can I just ask this? Did Homeless Pimp and John, did they film Brendan's set too?
I think they may have.
Okay.
I think they did.
That could be a real fun thing.
So, yeah, but I mean, again, if any, let's get to it.
Yeah.
So I'm asking them questions, and they like start scrolling their phone on themselves. And I'm like, oh, okay, so nothing is going to do this. I kind of just powered through or whatever, but continued to do my act and tried to like pop them with a joke or two, and every once in a while a thing would hit, and then it would go back to nothing, or they'd start talking to each other, and it was like, and then I'm like gearing into what is supposed to be like my 15-minute closer. Like, I have this big chunk, and and as I'm doing the second joke in it out of 30, I get the the light. So I go, gotta go, and I threw the mic and I walked off stage.
How many minutes into your set were you?
30. Brendan headlined from second position.
What a sneaky little raccoon. Holy shit. So you had to run off stage?
So I had to run off stage. This isn't even the end, by the way.
No.
I like walk over to Homeless Pimp. I put my mask on, and I'm just like 1,000-mile stare. What the fuck just happened? This is out of control. And he was just like, wow. Like, he's like, this is epic. He's working with comics where people go out to see them intentionally.
Yeah.
And then I bring them to fucking Long Island, where it's supposed to be a home run of a show, and it's anything but that. It's a foul ball that rolled back and hit you directly in your balls.
So would you consider yourself that you were bombing for the 30 minutes, or just that it wasn't, a filmable show?
It's both. Like, I bombed at parts, I stumbled at parts because I was so not used to the circumstances.
Right.
I definitely said jokes in ways that I wouldn't had I been comfortable.
Yeah.
But then I rebounded at points. Like, there could be some salvageable stuff, but who knows? I think we're gonna do like a video that says like comedy's back, and it's just a 10-minute highlight of me bombing.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I'm saying. If you have Brendan to get a supercut of all that too, of him it's just a counter at the bottom, minute 12, minute 27, minute 38.
Dude, so I get, we're off stage, and I'm just like talking to Homeless Pimp about like what the fuck just happened, and some rod with like good Charlotte hair and a fucking mask hanging off of his nose comes running over to me. He's like, false alarm, you can go back up. And and I go, no.
Yeah.
I go, absolutely not. And like 3 other people are like, you getting back up there? You going back up? And I'm like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
And who do you fucking think I am?
Yeah.
Like, in what world am I going to be like, well, that was 30 minutes of just foot on the gas fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to get back up there and take 6 more minutes of that.
Just pick up the mic. And so, you remember what I was saying. Sorry, I had to.
I mean, insane, right? And some guy, like, he really meant well, and he was a sweet dude. He came over to talk to both Brendan and I, and we're like, hey, don't worry about that. You know, giving us the fucking coach pep talk where we're like...
That never feels good. That's that's full confirmation of a bombing. We're like, dude, I can't speak for the rest of them, but I liked what you did. Just don't even let it affect you. And you're like, well, now it will.
Like,
now it definitely will.
Keep it going. He's like, I was a huge Greg Giraldo fan. I love Tough Crowd. Colin Quinn starts naming. I was like, oh, all those guys are in my special. He's like, yeah, shut up, sweetie. And he's like talking. He's like, listen, man. He's like... my son's a mess. He's on heroin. He's in like QAnon or some shit. I got 2 great kids and then another one in the army. He's like, word of advice. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, how do you lead with your credits of a heroin addict, QAnon, fucking, and a military retard? It's like, how do you lead with that? And you're like, now let me tell you what I've learned.
Yeah.
That's when you want to make your Irish goodbye.